Oh, hey everyone. Good Monday morning, 7 a.m. here in Japan. And I was thinking about how the start of the Hangout goes, or the live stream goes, where I can't hear anybody, can't interact with anyone. So I'm really talking into the other, and I don't even know if anyone's watching. So kind of feels like a radio broadcast, where you're really just talking into a microphone or into a video camera as well. And yeah, who knows who's watching. So anyways, today on Monday is kind of an interesting day because the kids are going off to school, and I'm usually the one who watches them go off to school because my wife goes off to work as well. Um, but usually she's around for the first half of getting the kids out to school, and then I'm around for the second half. But today she's sick with the flu, so she's up in bed and she's sleeping. So she doesn't even know I'm live streaming. I think because I didn't want to wake her up and tell her. And so I woke up Aiko and Shin and let them know that they're just going to have to do it on their own today, which is fine. They know exactly what to do. But generally, I'm there in case they have some issues finding I don't know, their school supplies, or there's always some last minute. Oh my goodness. Anyways, I see there's a couple of viewers, there's somebody else out there in the world. So please ask me questions. I would love to answer some questions. Um, and I guess in the meantime, waiting for some questions, I'll just briefly let you know about a trip to Kusatsu Onsen. I think I posted some pictures on like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, so it's just like this onsen town where it's the hot springs, so natural hot springs, and they have the water in the middle of the village. They're the onsen part of the village. They have the water go on these wood, what is it, slots? I don't know, little canal system, and it cools down the water, and you can see all the steam rising. So it's pretty cool. And I didn't know what to expect. I've seen video of the place, I've seen pictures of it, I've read articles about it, but I didn't really know what it would be like, and I was really impressed with it. So I think that's always fun when you go to a place and your expectations are kind of like this, but then it ends up being like this. So that was a pretty cool trip to go on. So I guess I'll probably be making a video about our onsen trip, and in a little bit, got lots of really cool footage because even they have streams there, and the stream that runs through the town is like a hot, acidic stream. So you see the steam rising out of it, and it's still winter time, so there's snow all over the place. So you have the snow around it, but then you have the steam rising. It's pretty cool to see. And the kids just loved it. They didn't even know there's going to be snow. And actually, I didn't know how much snow there was going to be. And so they just had fun playing in the snow and going around to all the onsens. It's a pretty nice trip. Anyways, please ask questions. Ask me almost anything. I'd love to answer some questions. Just as a little update as to what's going on next. I have so many projects on the go that I even forgot. I think on the Patreon, the latest post, I listed them all and kind of the status updates. But I have footage for becoming Japanese. I have footage for immigrating, becoming Japanese, homelessness. I'm going to be doing some more housing videos. Have a whole bunch of stuff filmed for that, including a tour of this house, like a full tour of how we furnished it. I have footage for the onsen trip. We have one about Shin talking about Yokai Watch, a really popular game and TV series. Just it's kind of like Pokemon, but it's the latest, the one that the kids in Japan are actually interested in. Pokemon, I mean, kids know about it over here. It's definitely big, but for the young kids like Shin, it's definitely Yokai Watch. I think is the hot property. Whereas I think out in the West, it's still Pokemon, which is bigger than Yokai Watch, much bigger. So we'll be talking about that. I have, I don't know, at least 10 video in the works right now, so a lot in the pipeline. Yeah, so what else is going on that I have planned? Oh, I'm going to be interviewing some people about working in Japan. So that I've been collecting interviews. I've interviewed about 4 people so far and hoping to get another 4 or so at least. Working in Japan I feel is like quite a big topic, and it's just not something I can cover in a single video. So I'm going to try to break it out into separate, I don't know, issues or separate themes or focuses. So I believe one will be on gender. So about actually, I'll take both the female and the male side of things, right? So what it's like working in Japan for a woman and for a man, because I think the expectations are still a bit different, and I know they were a lot more different in the past, you know, a generation ago or even 2 generations ago. But times are changing, and I want to talk about that. And so there's those perspectives, and then talking about working in Japan, kind of from the different generations, right? So if you did it from 2 generations ago versus, you know, up until now, until people who are getting out of university, college, or out of high school, starting to look for jobs, what that looks like. I want to cover that aspect of it, and probably something to do with the future trends. So what it'll look like in the future, how things are looking, because what I read a lot about Japan, whether it's academics or even online, it seems to be the information is always based on things that might be, you know, at the most, you know, a few years ago, but at the worst, like 20 or 30 years ago. And you know, society is constantly changing, and things are improving. So I want to try to delve into that. I personally have not worked in the Japanese official workplace, so I think it's very important for me to talk to a lot of different people to try to get all the different perspectives about it. From what I hear, I don't think I would like to work in it. I mean, I can't even work. No, I can work in the Canadian work system, but it's not my favorite thing to work for a big company. I mean, I've been doing my own thing for a long time. I enjoy the freedom of being able to do that and creativity, and it's just the lifestyle that suits me personally. So even though I say I can't work in the Japanese workplace, I probably can't really work in the Canadian workplace either, or be too happy about it. But I think the good thing about the workplace is I've been hearing stories in the past how things were a bit restrictive in even in terms of, like, you know, how a woman was seen, or the work hours, and the parties you'd have to go through afterwards, and how you kind of have to devote your life. And now in the present day, you've been seeing laws come into place, but then you've also been seeing how companies adapt to those laws. Um, for example, like karoshi, which means kind of like working till you die, so working to death. That's an issue. How big of an issue, I don't know, you know, statistically, right? But I know it's an issue, and there's been some popular cases in the news about that, and people have been trying to change their ways. And I've heard from people in their workplace that they cite this one incident about karoshi, about a young girl working for Dentsu, and the workplace actually have changed how they do things. So I found that quite interesting, because it really, like, sometimes you hear about the new laws in Japan, people are like, oh, it's not going to change anything. But in this case, it actually did change something, and workplaces are trying to get their people home earlier. But it's a kind of like trying to move, I don't know, I guess like the Titanic or something, right? It's a huge thing working in Japan. So you have government, which when they make the laws and they want to change things, they tell the workers to do stuff. And generally, I think they can change across the board. But that's only one sector of the working environment. And then I think big companies, they're better able to do things as well, because if a big company has, you know, 5,000 employees and they change something, they can actually affect a lot of change for a lot of people. But then you have the vast majority of business in Japan, unless I am totally wrong, vast majority of people work for small businesses, actually. So you have to affect change in those areas as well, to make sure there's, like, say, if you don't want to work overtime or work really crazy late hours, that it actually happens. So I've been hearing things about working conditions getting better, gender equality getting better. So I'd like to report on that once I do a little more investigation. Yeah, but once again, if there are questions, please ask them. I'd love to answer them. I'm just having my tea this morning. I guess you can't really, let's see. No, you can't see it. The kids are hopefully getting ready by themselves, getting all ready for school, because it's they go to school at 8 o'clock and it's 7:10 a.m. over here in Tokyo. Another project that I'm actively working on is housing. I have so much stuff filmed for housing right now. So I have a tour of this house, and instead of, because we already have a brand new Japanese house tour, I decided not to do, talk about all the little things in a new house, because we've already done that, right? But there's so much details in a house that I think people are interested in. So for our house, it's almost a year old now. Actually, it's a year old. And what I want to talk about is how we furnished the house. And so one of the things I'm a little bit apprehensive about in showing the house and talking about the house is that our style of house and how we furnished it is not necessarily, a typical Japanese way. I don't think it's atypical, but I mean, people see one thing online and they think, okay, that's how all of Japan is, and that's all how Japanese homes look like. So it won't be like that, but that being said, I think our home is kind of like your average, I don't know, like starter home, or I don't know, affordable new build type of home. Because I've done a lot of tours of new homes. I've been in, I don't know, like 20 or 30 or maybe more new homes, and I walk around the neighborhoods, and there's a lot of new construction always in Japan or in Tokyo. And when I see that, I can see the types of houses, and they look not too dissimilar from ours. So I think it'll be a good example that way. But how we furnished it, I think some things are very Japanese, and other things might be a little more Western. I mean, for example, we shopped at IKEA, so that's a pretty Swedish, right? Sweden? I hope it's Sweden. So we bought some stuff from there, and obviously Japanese people buy stuff from IKEA as well. Okay, question. Awesome. How's the rain over there in Tokyo? It's been raining here, plenty here in Southern California. It's good for our drought. Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome that you guys are getting rain. I know, like, last year or 2 years ago, I was hearing about the drought, and so it's good you're getting a lot of rain. Although I'm also hearing about a pretty big dam that, I don't know, was about to burst like a week or two ago. So I don't know how that went down. Rain over here, I haven't. It's been normal as far as I know. I was just looking at the sky out there to check the clouds. Yeah, I think it's been pretty decent, the weather, and there's been no issues about droughts or floods, any of that sort of stuff. So it's been pretty good. All right, so another question. How did you get consent from all the parents in the daycare video? Must have been pretty hard. Okay, so this one, how I got to film the daycare video was that there's this big, I have to figure out the translation for it, but it's like some type of like healthcare or social living company, and they own hospitals, patient rehabilitation centers, like ICU units for elderly, like elderly daycare, child daycare, and kindergarten systems. So they own a lot of different types of places. And I know somebody who works in there, and the boss, the CEO of the whole enterprise, wanted to meet with me and talk with me when I visited my friend there. And he said, hey, please come film. And I'm like, okay, awesome, because all these different types of places I wanted to do coverage of. So in one sense, it was quite easy. They asked me to come and film their different units. So I'm going to be going to their elderly kind of ICU center next week and filming that. So I'll have something about that. So I was also wondering about the kids, because normally it's pretty hard to get any kids in the video. So I noticed that school, they do actually have blog posts where they share pictures of, what it's like in their classroom and going out on activities. They show that online already with their faces and nothing blurred. So I guess this particular school, they're already comfortable with it. And this school is a Swedish company, IKEA. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Yeah, so this company is a private company, but they meet the public standards of the central government, which I guess in Canadian or American terms that'd be like the federal government, like the national government. You have to meet certain standards if you want to be a Huikuen or Yochien, and they meet those, so people can get subsidized for this type of school. So even though it's a private school, it meets like the public like base guidelines for both at the national level, but also the cities. So at the local level, they can also have their own guidelines. So they meet this, and so you don't have to be rich to get into this school. So I think a lot of commentators, or some commentators, thought like, oh, it's a super fancy school, it's not the average school. And what you saw, the programs there, I mean, every school is different, but I've been in, I don't know, less colorful schools, and it looks fairly similar. And I've had people who have been to Huikuens when they were a kid, like even 30 years ago, and say that, yeah, this is, you know, Natsukashi, like brings back the memories of what it was like to be there. So I think it was a fairly good representation of what goes on, what you'd see. The actual look of the facility in terms of the colors, or they had like Ultraman there, or they had like the climbing wall, that's not necessarily regular. But most of the things they did and how they did it, I think that's pretty normal. Okay, another question, but I'll answer it after I have my little sip of my tea. Yeah, so this question is about Shin and Yokai Watch, and would I be making a video about the anime and about that? And yes, I have filmed 2 different pieces of footage. So one, we went out in real life and tried to find scenes from kind of like the first chapter or first episode of the first video game, and we tried to compare the video game to real life. So we filmed that, and then the second part is we actually played the game, and I got, you know, the capture card for the DS so we could do that, and filmed that and had Shin and Aiko, you know, explaining a few things. So I have all that stuff together. Now I have to actually edit it. So that's actually what I'll be doing today, is sitting down and trying to edit that. And we'll see how the edit goes. I mean, if I was really good, it'd be done by the end of today, but I kind of feel it's going to take me a few days to kind of piece things together and figure out exactly how to present it. But yeah, that should be the next video, actually. So it's coming soon. Any other questions? I'd love to answer some. I have a couple more housing videos in the works. So I mentioned we're going to do a tour of the house. But another one we're going to do is talking about the abandoned homes and then the use of land. So there are a lot of abandoned homes in Japan, or vacant, I should say vacant properties or vacant units is a lot more accurate, because the actual number of standalone homes that are vacant are not as high as you might think looking at the numbers. And I want to say in Japan, it's probably close to around 20%, which sounds like a lot, and that is a pretty high number. But I think a large majority of those numbers are made up of vacant apartment or condo units. So it's not a lot of homes actually sitting empty. But the case for vacant homes really depends on where in Japan you're located, you know, specifically what city and specifically, or municipality or township, and what area of it as well. So in places like Tokyo, vacancy of standalone homes is not, I don't think it's a big issue. But if I look around and look at the mansions or apartment buildings, they will have a, yeah, you can just look at you can see, because in Japan, it doesn't come, apartment units don't come with their own curtains, right? And the railings for the laundry as well, like the poles, they don't come with that. So if you look at the unit from behind, you'll see whether or not somebody's in there, because if it has no curtains and no laundry poles, well, then it's a vacant unit. It's a pretty sure thing. So I can really feel, like, look at it, see 12 units, 3 of them are vacant or 2 of them are vacant. It's pretty obvious. Now, if you go to the countryside, it might be, there's not a lot of apartments or apartment units, but instead it'll be homes that are vacant. So it is an issue, but it's kind of interesting, like, how it came about and how they're dealing with it and what's going to happen going forward. I think there's a lot of, some sides of the story, I think there's a lot of doom and gloom about it. I don't know. I don't know. So I think it's quite an interesting topic. So I'll try to, explain a little bit more about how it all works. Oh, stream is buffering. Oh, but for you, not maybe, hopefully not from my end. Okay, cool. Yeah, people, if you have questions, please ask away. How's the stream look, by the way, for everybody else? Is it look okay, smooth? I'm actually in my first floor of our house. I was going to say basement, but we're not below ground. We're just totally at ground here. And I'm usually up on the 3rd floor, up in my room, but my wife is sick with the flu, so I'm down here. Luckily, I have a laptop and external web microphone and video or Logitech camera, so I can do this from here quite easily. How was our date with Eric from Kadi and Eric? I didn't have a date with them, but I did meet up with Eric and Andrew. Andrew's from Happy in Japan. I met with him about a month ago or 2 months ago in Tokyo, just for like burgers, actually. Oh, that was good. It's always good to talk to people, other YouTubers, because I guess it's a fairly unique lifestyle. So I have no co-workers to talk to ever, usually. So you're kind of alone, because video producers don't necessarily understand what YouTube is about, like regular video producers. And then other people, yeah, it's just kind of its own unique thing with its own set of challenges and whatnot. So just talking to other people who are doing the same thing, it's just nice. So it's always good to talk with other people. And too personal, where would I like to see the channel in a year or so? Sorry, this was a question from Hassan. No, that's not a personal question whatsoever for me. The future direction of the channel, I actually might be making a video about it sometime soon. I would like to see a lot more mini documentaries made. I think that's a fairly easy given. And I have kind of all the topics, a variety of topics laid out, so I have no issue finding things to talk about. And what I hope to do, though, with covering the variety of mini docs I'm doing now is to kind of set this foundation of what I can do, the kind of stories I can tell. And hopefully with that, then I can start working on some more complicated things, or get into subject matter, or get access to people or places that I wouldn't be based on my current track record. So the more videos I have about a variety of subjects, the easier it is to show somebody, hey, look, I've covered this, and this is the way I've covered it, and to have them feel safe with me, going into, like, say, their school system. So I would love to, really get deep into the whole Japanese primary education system. So from grade 1 to grade 12, or the Japanese equivalents of that. And there's so many different fascinating aspects of the school system that I love to cover. So there is the how they do their school lunch programs. I know there's a pretty popular video on YouTube that covers the school lunch program, but I actually want to go a bit deeper than that video went, where I want to talk about, like, how it came about, like, why do they have this nationwide lunch program? I even talk about how education in Japan, it starts off at the top, so like at the national level, and then it filters down below, whereas like where I'm from in Canada, we have it at provincial level. So that's like at states or prefectures or whatever the equivalent is in other different countries. So in Japan, because it comes down from national level, I think things can could be a lot more uniform across Japan. So if you meet somebody up in Hokkaido or down in Kyushu area, they will have similar school experiences because it's all done at the national level. And so that's for the lunch program. But like the physical education that they do and the sports days that they do, I think that is quite interesting how the physical education works. I just saw Shin and Aiko. They ran, I don't know how far Shin ran, if we ran the same distance, but Aiko ran 1.5 kilometers. And I think they do this once or twice a year. And so last time she was like 16 out of 20, and now she's 11 out of 20. So she was really happy, and I was really happy for her to get a little bit better. But yeah, they do these, I guess, these endurance tests and other things. So physical education is a very big or important part of education in Japan. So I really like that. But they also have programs for the music, extracurricular activities, arts, home economics, so like cooking, sewing, and other things like that. So it's a lot more than just math and language and science, and they do have that, and they also have history and geography and all the social studies. So even at the elementary school level, I can see they have a variety of subjects. So I was really worried about the school system when we first moved to Japan, coming from the Canadian school system, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think the kids are getting a good education and that they're happy at school, making friends, no issues with bullying, and generally getting along with everyone. And they're getting more than just, again, the math and the language. So they're getting a whole rounded education. So I would like to, investigate that and show that to people. Oh no, I ran out of tea. That's okay. I have water here. I drink a lot. Yeah, anybody knows me knows I'm always drinking. Gotta keep hydrated, keep the skin all nice and young looking. Actually, talking about young looking, we went to the Kusatsu Onsen, and you always hear people talk about like advertisers talk about all the effects of the hot spring water and the minerals and all this stuff. And I've been to a few hot springs, but I mean, I know the water like smells different, maybe sometimes looks different, but I didn't really notice much of an effect on my health or anything like that. It feels nice, but I don't know how different it was than regular water. But at Kusatsu, man, my skin got so soft. It was nice. So I'm just like, yeah, it really made a difference to my skin at least. So that was cool to see the effects of that. And the water at Kusatsu Onsen, unless I'm mistaken, is very acidic. Especially my wedding ring, it's silver, but I can't tell. I don't think you can tell on the webcam. It's not that detailed enough, but it kind of got tarnished a bit from the water. So it's getting a bit back silver again. So maybe it's kind of rubbing off the tarnish, but yeah, that's definitely a different, I guess, pH balance. All right, so ask questions, please ask questions. I'd love to answer some more questions. I'm thinking about, housing. I was going to talk about one more housing video I'm working on. Oh, you have to run? Okay, cool. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. You're actually in Tokyo for the week. Oh, cool. Nice. Yeah, so if you're in Tokyo, then yeah, things are starting to happen right now, 7:30 a.m. What was that other video about or housing I wanted to talk about? It was the custom housing, right? So I know someone who is custom building a home, so might be filming that sometime in the next few days and kind of going through that building process. But we also did a tour of many custom homes, or show homes. So in Tokyo, they have these areas where they have maybe like 10 different builders get together in an empty plot of land, and they build their show homes. And they're not necessarily how the homes will look like in real life, because they have like all the coolest stuff in there, the most, the nicest designs. And I think they're a lot bigger than normal. So they're not 100% representation of what a real house would look like. But you can kind of see I know the latest technology and design ideas, and they look probably quite different than the average Japanese home. So I think it's pretty cool to see them. So we did tour a few of these places, and I took some footage. So you can kind of, I think it'd be quite interesting to see. So I have all that footage. I haven't even tried to edit it yet. So we'll see how that looks. I'm supposed to be doing a tour of a factory that builds homes, and it builds homes in the factory. And I think they have wood frame homes, but they also do like concrete and steel homes as well. I'm told you can only film certain areas of that. So at this tour, I don't know if I can get enough footage to make a video out of, but I'm kind of hoping later on I could ask them to see if I can get like I guess kind of like exclusive access to get a tour of this place, because the stuff they build and how they build it and how they test it for earthquakes, it's pretty cool. So I'd love to get a proper tour of a facility like that. All right, so 7:30. So what I'll do is, so what I've been doing for the past little bit is I've been doing the private stream so people can ask questions if they have it for the first half hour. And then just to kind of get a little more people in here, a little more questions, I've been opening it up to the public. So let me try that and see how it goes this time around. So I'm just going to go into my settings and do that. And okay, so I guess you can't see this, so I'm just kind of talking to myself here, but go unlisted to public, publish. Let's see how this goes here. Yeah, I think I'll be trying to change my the Patreon a little bit to bring a lot more perks down to even lower levels of funding. So I hope to be doing that in the next month or so. I'll probably be putting out a survey. So I want to kind of provide more value for what people are given, because I really appreciate the amount of money that people are supporting, because you don't have to. So I really do appreciate all your support. It's pretty cool, like the day and age we live in, that we can do this. And I also try to support some of my local people that I've been watching on YouTube for years, trying to help them out as well. Am I familiar with how strict Japanese are with the business visa? Unfortunately, I am not, because I got in through a spousal visa, which is quite easy for me to get. So I'm not a huge expert on that. I did interview somebody about naturalizing and becoming Japanese. I know about that a bit because of the interviews I've done. So. But no, business visas, I'm not too sure about that. Sorry. Oh, hey. So, hey, everyone. I'm just opening up this live stream to the public. And a lot of people wonder, they ask like, oh, how come I don't know about this live stream? How come there's no warning, no tweets or anything about that? It's because this live stream starts off as a private live stream for Patreon supporters. So those who donate on a monthly basis to the channel. So I let them know in advance about the live stream, and get a chance to ask questions privately and just chat like that in a small group. But then just to liven things up, I open up to the public, and so here's the public. Here you guys are. And so I guess if you happen to be online or available at the time it goes live, then here you are too. So everyone can kind of join in. So how this works is just ask questions and I'll try to answer. Yeah, so question, hey Greg, can you make a video on Japanese space program? Oh my. I would love to. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, I think space is so fascinating. I'm not a huge space buff in that I don't know a lot of the technical stuff about, how it works. But I just find space so absolutely fascinating, just exploring different worlds. I mean, if you could live forever, I would love to be, exploring different worlds for sure. I would do it. And if my wife would let me, she doesn't, she's super scared of space. And I'm pretty sure down in south, like in Kyushu area and whatnot, they have launches and whatnot. So that'd be pretty cool to check out the space program. I've actually learned more about it from animes, where they talk about the space program than any other place in real life. All right, let's see some other questions here. No space program in Australia? Oh, I did not know that. We have a bit of a space program in Canada. I mean, we send astronauts up, and I don't know if we do any major launching though. I think we launch a lot of stuff out of the States, or we do co-launches with other countries and build things for other countries to put up there. Yay, fellow Canadian. More cooking vids with the kids. Yeah, people really like the cooking vids. I never knew that was such a big thing. Trying to think if we have anything else big cooking wise that's coming out. Might do one on like going for a picnic, because the cherry blossoms will be blooming quite soon, so we might do a picnic and cover that. But I don't know if that'll be cooking or if it'll be by the kids. Usually it's my wife who does something like that, so I might capture a bit of the assembly process and maybe a bit of the picnic process, but we'll see. Hey, Greg. Hi, Greg. What's the public perception in Japan in regards to public transportation versus Canada or the US? Public perception. That might be a bit tough for me to answer. I know my personal perception of it. But my feeling is that it's just a very regular thing to do, at least in the Tokyo City. I can only talk about Tokyo City because I don't talk to people in the countryside quite often, even though I know people in the countryside and have family that live in the countryside. But I think, just catching the train or hopping on a bus, but especially the trains, seems such like a common, normal thing to do. It's just part of your everyday life. Like in Canada, hopping in a car is a very normal thing to do. So I think it's kind of that way. And people, it's not looked down upon, like the mode of transportation. It doesn't seem like, oh, poor you have to catch a train or anything like that. Whereas in Canada, if you have to catch the bus or, or some of our train systems, yeah, it's kind of like a lesser form of travel. We recently went to the countryside, and you can totally tell how the infrastructure changes. There's still trains that go out there, and there's still bus systems, but you can definitely see a lot more people in cars. So it's a lot more car-dependent type of society than in Tokyo, where you really can't get by without a car in Tokyo. Yay, somebody from England. What's the hardest thing you had to adjust to in Japan? I'd say the hardest thing is language. I didn't speak much Japanese before coming to Japan. I still don't speak much Japanese, but I try studying every day, and it's just something that I know it feels like it'll take a lifetime. I'll never be, good enough. But even to get to a level that I'm at least kind of okay with or satisfied with, I still think it'll take me another few years to do. I think part of it is that because I work from home and the work that I do, I can get away without having to speak Japanese at a high level. So when you have all these things going on in your life and all these priorities with the kids and with the family and with making money and everything, it's like learn Japanese is not the top level. So it'll always kind of get pushed down. And when you get busy, it's one of the first things to drop is, studying Japanese. So I might, not study for a month or two and then go back to it again. So I've been trying to make an effort recently to learn Japanese, and it has been improving. But for the first few years, I didn't focus on it. So I'm quite embarrassed about my level of Japanese at this point. We didn't really know how long we were going to live in Japan when we first came, and I was really focused on just making sure we could survive, because having enough money to have a roof over our heads was my main priority. So that's what I focused on doing. And because I work online and I make videos, learn Japanese wasn't the way to do it, at least at the start. I know for other people, it's a totally different story where learn Japanese would definitely be a big thing that you need to do, especially if you're a single person here and don't have many friends or any family. You need to learn Japanese to really, I think, long-term I don't know, have a, to kind of integrate with society. I get a big pass on it because my wife and my kids can talk for me when we need to talk about more complicated things. And I mean, I do volunteer, I do integrate with society and interact with Japanese people, but if there's a lack of communication, that needs to be, discussed further, then my wife can step in and help out with that and kind of smooth things over. So it's a lot easier to get by with a little Japanese in a situation like mine. Any plans to make a any more cooking vids or going up to popular regional or national change? Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about our cooking videos is they were never really planned too intensely. They just kind of happened. Like we just went to a place, I'm like, hey, I'll just bring a camera. And those are probably some of the most least planned videos that we've made. And yeah, I think we'll just continue to make videos. Actually, now that I remember, we were going to go to a tonkatsu restaurant. That's like a breaded pork. And just kind of show how that goes. Because I don't think tonkatsu is as, I mean, sushi is very big in the imagination of people about Japanese food, and maybe like, things like ramen or udon or soba, noodles. I don't think tonkatsu is as known, so I would like to just go to a restaurant and see how it works. Yeah, so that's probably will be the next one where we go to a restaurant. Yeah. Any have you found any cultural difficulties between your wife and yourself? Yeah, I would say there were a lot of cultural difficulties, especially at the start of the relationship. But we've been married for over 15 years now, so I think any major thing is hopefully past in terms of dealing with any cultural difficulties. Yeah, no, I mean, she's pretty used to how Canadians do things, and I'm pretty used to how Japanese do things, and we've changed our way of thinking as time has progressed. So yeah, I think we're pretty okay with any difficulties now. I think the latest one we would have had, when the kids were born, we're just thinking about education and stuff. But I mean, I think we're both fairly happy right now with the education situation. I think my wife's really worried about when you get into the middle school and high school, so from like grade 7 onwards, because in Japan it's a pretty big thing. Whereas in Canada, at least my family and where I was growing up, I don't know, school, it wasn't such a big deal. I mean, I think I always did okay at school, or okay enough that it was never an issue of having to, study extra or worry about things like, and I did extracurricular activities like, like I never had any issues with school. So my parents, as far as I know, they didn't really talk to me about it. They didn't really, look over me as I did my homework. They didn't suggest I do all these different things. I just did kind of whatever I wanted, and I did my homework when I needed to, and it was a pretty low-key affair. I can get into decent universities in Canada without having to try so hard. So I don't know, it was never a big thing for me. So when, we started talking about education, I guess in Japan, it was seeing parents were a lot more involved, and there's a lot more pressure on the students. So, just thinking about that, my wife is kind of more leaning towards having the kids do some more education in Canada, especially for those, I don't know, more serious years, the upper level years. So we'll see how that goes. I know both of us want the kids to be fluently bilingual in Japanese and English. That's a huge thing that we both want. So whatever we need to do to make sure that happens, we'll try and do. And so far, I think it's been going okay. The kids are comfortable in both languages. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, someone from, oh wait, is manufacturing and manual labor a big market in Japan? I really couldn't answer that with any authority. Yeah, I don't know any stats. I know I see it. I ride by places where they're doing manufacturing on a small scale and on a big scale, and I see construction and other manual labor being done, but I just don't know, how important it is. Good evening from Northern Ireland. Good evening. No real questions, just want to say hello. Hey, hi. Argentina, cool. Hey, how's it going? Oh, just keep up doing such amazing videos. Thank you so much. Any tips for learning Japanese? I think my tip would be is, so they have they're not called alphabets actually. I can't remember the technical term, but they have hiragana and katakana. Just spend the hours, like a few hours, just memorizing that and just getting really good at that. I did not do that so well, so I kept on forgetting how to read them because my study was always off and on, off and on, off and on. And by the time I tried to study again, I'd forget certain characters, and then I would just be lost. So I think just make sure you really have those down tight, and just remember to constantly at least keep that base level down. And then kanji, I was so afraid of learning kanji because there's thousands of them, and I was just worried about learning the basic level, hiragana and katakana. But I use an app called Waninkani, and that has been my lifesaver for continuing to learn kanji. The only issue with that app is that you really have to put in like at least a half hour, more like an hour each day into keeping up to date with that, or otherwise you get behind, and then it's like this huge barrier to continue to study because it just keeps on piling up all the practice that you have to do in kanji. But if you can devote that time, learning kanji just made things so much easier, and especially trying to read things. Now that I know a bit of kanji, I just realized how important it is to know it and to be able to read sentences a lot easier. And it's really hard to read sentences that are only in hiragana or katakana, and that's because kanji kind of, there's only so many ways to interpret kanji, and generally when you see them grouped together, you know what it means, and so it's way easier to read. And if you don't know, just trust me, it's so much easier to read with kanji. Oh, and just so for people who don't know, it's because Japanese, they don't have spaces between characters. Like in English, you have the cat went to the, and there's a space between each word, so it's easier to read. In Japanese, there's no spaces, so if you're not familiar with Japanese words, you're like, well, what word is what? Like, how do I read this? And so with kanji, it helps you group things together a lot easier. Hi, Greg. Do you make a point for Aiko and Shin to keep up their English? Yeah, so that is one thing we do, try to make sure they learn English. So right now, the most popular way is just have things they like doing that are English, whether it's videos or movies, games, books, that sort of thing. So they just enjoy using English and speaking it with me and between themselves. But we want to try to do some more schooling things in terms of keeping up their English, because I find their writing is falling behind. So that's the trickiest thing right now, is their writing is not up to level in comparison to kids their age in Canada. Any plans traveling abroad? Yeah, I think we're going to try to hit up Canada sometime soon. And I've been thinking about going to VidCon if I'm Canada in the area, but I've been a little bit nervous or apprehensive about traveling to the States. I've had an incident before where I haven't had the best time with Border Patrol or Customs or Immigration or whatever the technical name would be. But I would like to attend VidCon and see how that goes. How old am I? 15 years? I'm a little bit older than 15 years, or maybe that's you. You're saying you're 15 years old? I don't know. How did I meet my wife? That's a long story, too long for this one. But we met in Canada. Let's see here. You like ramen shop? Am I working on anything new? I listed earlier on. I listed a whole bunch of stuff I'm working on. There's like 10 different working on. Some simple stuff like Yokai Watch, the anime and the game, and talking about that versus real life, and also some more complicated subjects. Homelessness, are about housing, and so a huge variety of topics that are coming. What are the main cultural differences between between Canada and Japan? From the UK? I mean, I think if you look at all the videos, I have more videos planned, is that you'll see there are a lot of cultural differences. The main one, I would say the number one thing in terms of like the, I don't know, say the West, right, versus Japan is the collective thinking versus individual thinking. In Japan, you know, very collective society where you're trying to do the best for everyone. Whereas I find in Canada, and then when you go to America, even more so, it's still a very individualistic society. So in certain cases, I like the individualism more, but I think in general, I like the collectivism. Yeah, and in some ways, even though it's very cool, you know, collectivism is a big thing. It allows you to be yourself a lot more sometimes as well, because you know, if you can follow kind of the rules that society lays out and, you know, do that. In other ways, like in public, I find I'm left alone, you know, as long as I'm following the rules, people don't bug me, right? People are, yeah, I can just do whatever I want. So I feel very much, in some ways, freer when I'm in Japan than when I'm in Canada or the States. Yeah, it's a lot more calm, the lifestyle. Hi, Greg from New York City. My son and I really enjoy your videos. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I'd love to get some more kids in different countries. I've been trying to figure out how to do it in a more captivating way. Because actually, I have a couple of videos that have been done, like community have submitted. I feel so bad for not having to publish them yet. I still have to go and edit those videos. We have one on bathrooms, no, breakfast. Yeah, breakfast coming down the pipeline. And we also have one on celebrations around the world. I think in the future, I still want to get contributions, but I want to kind of switch it up a bit and maybe try to focus on one person at a time and maybe try to do some comparisons. So we'll take some footage from, I don't know, somebody like from New York, right? Let's say New York, what does your, I don't know, parks look like in New York? And so go to your parks, check that out, and then we'll try to do a comparison of what it looks like in Japan. So maybe try to do that in the future, but we'll see. I mean, the whole point of the channel starting up was to see kind of how life is like around the world, you know, from a kid's perspective. So I still want to continue and do that. Something else I've been thinking about is actually traveling to different countries and physically going there and filming it and interacting with, you know, people from different places and have them show me how life is like and making videos like that in that way. So maybe that's something that I can do in the future. It'd be pretty interesting. I'd love to do that. Talking on school stuff, how big are Japanese on sports, such in terms of popularity for professional and for fun? I mean, I think baseball is like the big sport, you know. Oh, and that's kind of at the, you know, spectator level, watching and attending games and whatnot, and just popular culture. I think, yeah, baseball is the biggest one. In terms of kids actually playing, I've heard it's soccer, although I don't see a lot of soccer fields out there. But then when I was thinking about it, a lot of the school grounds can act as soccer pitches, although they're all like gravel, which is a bit odd for me. Like in Canada, most of our proper soccer pitches are on grass. So I think that's why my mind didn't pick up on it right away. It was that, yeah, maybe a lot of the, you know, at the lower level, the soccer is just done on the school pitches, which again are gravel. So there are a ton of soccer fields. I just don't normally see it, because if you go to, I don't know, the riverbank, there's so many baseball pitches. And so you'd think that baseball, the number of players totally outnumbers soccer. But I hear soccer is the bigger one. I don't know, Japanese, when they cheer for sports, though, they seem to get into it more so than, at least in Canada. Our cheering section seems a lot more apathetic. Like I know in my soccer games, you'd have a few parents, but not much. Christy Evans, I'm half Japanese like your kids, and I'm not very good speaking, but good at understanding. Do you think if I study abroad in Japan, I will be able to pick it up faster or better to study here first? I think you definitely should study first, but when you go to Japan, I think it really depends on how much you are like forced to speak Japanese. Like I live in Japan, but because I don't have, besides doing like shopping and like small interactions at pretty low level, I know enough to do that. But to have really serious conversations, or I'm not at that level. But I mean, I can talk with like family members and friends, like just basic things like, oh, I did this, last week, or I want to do this today. Um, Very basic stuff I can do, but because I'm not forced to do like really serious things and really have deep subjects, I can't do that. So I think if you do come to Japan, just make sure you put yourself in environments where you have to learn Japanese. What is the best job to get in Tokyo? I have no clue. There are so many jobs in Tokyo. It'd be kind of impossible to narrow it down to a best job. Oh, you'll be traveling to Japan this summer with your kids. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm glad the videos have helped out. I've been really thinking about doing some tips for traveling to Japan / Tokyo. It's kind of like a top 5 or something like that. Because I guess I've seen enough new people come to Japan where you kind of see the little things they have problems with. Like one is to how to navigate the train system and how to get started with that, and teach them about konbinis, convenience stores, and getting access to ATMs. There's a few other things in there, so I would like to make a video about that at some point. Like people always ask, so I'd like to have a video to show them. Like, okay, here you go. Here's the tips. As for places to go, who knows? Like there's so much interesting stuff that I think it really depends on your personality. One thing I have found though is that if I just have people come to Japan and then they just walk around, they have fun. I can hear Shin there, so maybe Shin's going to. Hey Shin. Oh, now you're quiet. I think he's behind there. They're just going to go off to school in a few minutes. Shin and I go. What ethnicity am I? I've answered this previously in other, I don't know, videos or whatnot. I guess basic level, half Chinese and then half British, like a little bit of Spanish, in there. And I'll be doing some DNA tests maybe because my mom's into genealogy and she's been doing some tests. So find some things out about her, family history. So might be doing that to get a little more accurate representation. But yeah, that's kind of it. So I have a few different things in me, so which means Ike and Shin are even more diverse than I am. Yeah. Hey, Shin.
Hi. Who are talking to you?
The world. Hey, here's Shin.
Daddy, where's my Taisogi?
Taisogi, he's looking for his gym clothes. I don't know where it went, honestly, Shin. You have to just look around. Were you looking for your pants, like your shorts?
Yeah.
I think they're just in the hallway. Look, I'm pretty sure I put them in the hallway there. He has to go to school in 2 minutes. Oh, you found them. That's good. You'll be in Tokyo here, and maybe you can do a collab video. I'm always open to doing like videos with people. Generally, it just has to be, a subject that makes sense, that I'm interested in, that you're interested in, that I don't know. It makes sense to do. We do public calls for videos too, so that's generally the most likely way to do it. Is if you're, I'm asking for a specific topic and you can make a video about that. But generally, if people are in Tokyo and I do have some free time, I will meet up with somebody for, like a coffee or just for an hour or something like that. It's always nice to meet people in different areas, or from different areas that are coming to Tokyo. But it's also a thing about time is, with the family and doing the work and whatnot, and just talk to current family and friends that I have here. There's only so much time you have to meet with different people. Is meat a luxury in Japan?
I didn't find it still.
I thought you said you did find it.
No, I don't have my uwabaki.
Your shoes?
Yeah.
I don't know where you put your shoes though. I really don't know. You have to look it up. Okay. Okay. Hold on one sec. Sorry. Shane, you left it at school, remember? Did you forget it at school? Okay. See you then. Shin forgot he left his shoes at school. I have to remind him. Because usually they bring home their shoes to clean every single day. Or I was at the end of the week. But he actually left his shoes at school, so that's why I can't find them. And that's right. I think at the very start of the live stream, I was saying that the kids are having to prepare themselves, and usually there's this like panic about something missing. And so there it happened, right? Like, yeah, where's all my sports stuff? Yeah, that's how it goes every day. Oh, it was some emergency. Oh, it was meat a luxury. In comparison to Canada, yeah, I would say it's a luxury. Like it's just more expensive in Japan. You get smaller portions. But something that surprised me is that I would say generally it's better quality. Yeah, because I mean the focus, and that's probably in food in general. In Japan, they're more focused on quality over quantity. So because I don't eat that much food, I find that better for me because I'd rather have less of it, but yeah, nicer. So I know some people, they're the opposite end of the spectrum where they just like, unless you're getting a lot of it, it's it's a ripoff. Another thing that's kind of rarer or harder to get is cheese, dairy products. It's more expensive in Japan, and you can get good quality stuff, but it's harder to find. I think in Canada it's easier to cheaply get some decent cheese. In Japan, I have to go to pretty much Costco to get some okay priced decent cheese. How's Tokyo preparing for Olympics for 2020? And are there any recommendations? Tokyo, I think the whole 2020 thing is quite interesting because they're using 2020 to push a lot of stuff, whether it's push to learn English or to have no smoking bans in restaurants, to become greener. Like it's the reason for a lot of stuff politically. So I find it interesting in that perspective. In terms of places to visit, I don't see how they'd be any different in the Olympics versus not. YouTubers that do in Japan or Tokyo and places to see to do that. I mean, I think any one recommendation that I would make, I don't know, just of information out. Just watch and look at a lot of stuff. I'm sure you'll get a lot of good ideas. I think one thing I mentioned before is just walk around Tokyo, and I'm making a video about this. You'll just find like cool, interesting stuff. So video ideas, snack junk food around the world. Yeah, that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool to do. Good idea. Shin, he's actually more of a morning person. Aiko's not generally not the morning person. And I wake up do. I think he was just panicking a little bit because he knew he only had like a minute or two and he needed some things to go to school. Let's see, Ohio, Shin missing clothes, yeah. Will Shin get the Nintendo Switch released now? I've been hearing about it, but I don't even know if it's been released. I'm sure they'll be asking about it. Oh, he's on the Nintendo, and the kids like playing that very much. I don't think there's any major collaborations in the works. I think for the random walk around film that, and Angela from Internationally Me, she was walking around with me. She's in the video a little bit, but not like a ton. But yeah, I think you'll probably just see some people here and there in some of the videos if it makes sense. but I've never really collabed, probably in a big way. Like, yeah, but I'm not against it. Just what I've covered is maybe a little bit different style than some of the other channels. So this hasn't happened, but there's no reason for or against. What's your favorite city in Japan besides Tokyo, and why? Ooh, that is a tough question. I don't think I can really answer without having traveled around Japan more than I have. I mean, every single time I've traveled, I've really enjoyed it. So that's a good sign. So I want to travel more. Maybe because I'm Canadian and, you know, up north, cold a lot of the time. The more subtropical places that I've traveled to, I've enjoyed because just the water is so clear, warm water, and just the scenery. I've really enjoyed it. So the small subtropical places, I've been to like, I went to Amami Oshima, which is halfway between like the southern tip of the Kyushu, like the main island in Japan, or one of the main islands in Japan, and then Okinawa's down below south, so kind of in the middle there. So halfway to Okinawa. That was a really cool trip. I did that many years ago with my little brother. I really like that. And then with the family, I've been down to the Izu Islands, which are part of Tokyo Prefecture. And we have some videos on that where you can see. And I like that as well. So those are probably some of my favorite places. But I mean, we just went to Kusatsu Onsen up, yeah, in the mountains. And that was really amazing too. We had such a great time, the family. So I just want to explore more. If I was talking about somebody traveling though to Japan, I know when I first went to Kyoto, that was pretty amazing because it's a lot different feel than Tokyo. And I mean, everywhere you walk, there's just cool stuff. And I mean, you can definitely fill quite a few days worth of things and not see a lot of the major, or there's just so much to do in Kyoto, and lots of different types of things you can do, whether it's climbing a mountain and seeing monkeys, or going through a bamboo forest, or seeing some I don't know, shrine or temple at the top of a mountain. Going down to the river in the valley. It's so much cool stuff. How long did it take to get a lot of views and subscribers? I don't know. It's been doing it for a couple of years now. But I think we just got lucky on Reddit with people watching the videos and just going from there. So I don't know. Honestly, it was never a plan to get a lot of views or subscribers. It just kind of happened, and very surprised about it. Still am. And sometimes, I mean, still don't know why so many people watch or subscribe, but I'll just, you know, be thankful that people do. And yeah, it's cool. Hello from Germany. Quite a few questions about the school system. People have asked, yeah, about the school system before, but how old are kids when starting school? They are 6 years old, roughly. I mean, I guess I think it might be like 6 to 7, dependent on the birth date. And are schools free, or do you have to pay? Public schools, which make up the vast majority of them, are free. You might have to buy like, you know, some school supplies like a bag and a few other things, but generally they're free. Yeah, and everybody gets a pretty standard level of education. Yeah. What time do Japanese schools start? I don't know if I can answer for the whole of Japan, because I mean, I don't know if different school systems have different start times. Where we are, the kids leave their house around, I mean, you saw them leave, so around 8 o'clock. And I don't think their day actually starts till maybe about 8:30, or even 8:45 or something like that. Yeah. If I see tourists, do I help them? That's an interesting question. I've done it on a few occasions. Sometimes I feel like, should I step in and say something, especially if I have time to do so? I don't know. Like, I generally don't like to meddle in people's affairs. So if people ask me, I definitely help. Or if I see something clearly that I can help them with, I will go and do it. But generally, I try to leave people alone. It's just my style. It's not anything against tourists or being annoyed or anything like that. It's just I generally don't start conversations. That's just not my personality. But if people talk to me, I'm more than happy to talk to them, generally. Why did we decide to move to Japan? Ooh, that's a huge question. I think we've answered it many times before, but the very simple answer was that when my wife and I got married, we, wanted to live in both countries, and we had lived in Canada for a long time, so it was kind of time to try living in Japan. We also wanted our kids to kind of be both Canadian and Japanese in the fullest sense possible. So not only the language, but the culture and the family. So if you want to do that, you kind of have to go back and forth between countries. So that's what we've done. We were in Canada for a while, and so now we're in Japan. Visual K. No, I don't know the term Visual K, although I don't know, kind of think I've heard about it before. What region in Canada did I grow up in? Born in Winnipeg, and then when I was an adult, moved to BC, Vancouver. Yeah. What religion is Japan? What's religion in Japan? They follow both Shinto and Buddhist practices in general. I mean, there's some Christians and Muslims as well, but by far, I think Buddhism and Shinto is a lot bigger. And those religions, you don't have to be one or the other. So there's many who are both. But I think in terms to, say, the Christians that I know in Canada, like they don't, as far as I know, most people don't attend like religious services. It's more like they follow traditions or customs. So, at the New Year, they'll go to, a shrine and do that, or for the birth of a child or for the death, they'll go to different shrines or temples and follow customs, but they're not necessarily, and in the homes too, they'll have, I think it's called Budokan, but I could be wrong with the terminology. And it's kind of like this, this area, and we showed it before in one of our videos, where you kind of pray for the dead people who've passed away. And so they have those types of places in homes. But in general, I feel that it's not as big of a thing as it is in, like, say, Canada, like for Christians in Canada, or Muslims too, because I've known some Muslims and praying 5 times a day and going to the mosques and stuff. So it's not as big as part of their life as those religions. What's my favorite tea? Ooh, I would have to say it's just like English breakfast, or like a black tea. I have that with that and milk all the time. But Japanese style tea, I would say kenmaicha, like roasted barley or roasted green tea. Because it's smooth. The sencha, which is like just Japanese green tea, is a little bitter, and I have it, but not as much as kenmaicha. I like that better. Has any Japanese TV show ever sponsored us or you? No, never. What happens if you are tattooed and need to use a communal shower, for example? Well, at an onsen or a sento, like a public bath, you can just cover it up with tape, and then in most places you're fine. And the reason they have traditionally done that is for Yakuza, because Yakuza generally have tattoos, so they didn't want Yakuza in their facilities, and that's where the ban came about. I think somebody was asking earlier about 2020 and the Olympics happening. Is that changing things? And I think one of the things is that they are encouraging operators of onsens and sentos to allow tattoos, because for people in the West, it's not the same reason you have tattoos as in Japan. So I think they're more and more, they're allowing people to have tattoos. And I know there are facilities that are totally okay with it. So you just have to do your research and you'll be fine. But even if you go to a facility that does not allow it, and if it's not like massive tattoos, like my brother, for example, has a tattoo, and he came and he just covered up with some, like, I don't know, sports tape or medical like tape. Pretty easy to buy anywhere in Tokyo or in Japan at a drugstore, and you cover it up, nobody cares. So it's kind of like don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. Because if you actually went there and asked, like, hey, I have tattoos, is this okay? And then I'm going to cover it up, they might say no. But if you covered it up, they wouldn't bother with you. Any more day in the life videos coming up? Yeah, I think I will do some. I don't know if I have any more filmed, but I would definitely like to cover some. I want to get a, there are noodle shops here that would deliver things like soba or udon, and they go on their little bikes and deliver them. So I'd like to really cover that. I think that'd be pretty cool to cover. Ah, somebody else from Winnipeg. There's always somebody else from Winnipeg, always. Visual K is a subgenre of J-rock. Okay, interesting. What type of wedding do we have? We just had like a Canadian style wedding, so nothing that interesting. Would you consider teaching Aikoanshi in other languages besides English and Japanese? I'm not against it, but I mean, I'm just trying to make sure they learn English, and I'm just focused on that. I myself know some French, and all my schooling was in French, but because I haven't used it in the past 20 years, I can understand if it's spoken to me, and I think if I was immersed in the culture or in a place where the language is spoken, I would be able to communicate, not really well, but be able to communicate. So because I learned it for such a big part of my life, it's there. But otherwise, I mean, I really don't use French at all. So, being Canadian, I would say like, oh yeah, I learned French for my kids. But no, I'm honestly just worried about them being like natively fluent at English and then at, in Japanese as well. What is something that is very in for kids in Japan these days? Oh, that's actually a good question. Maybe that's something I should make a video of, like kind of rounding up, the popular things to do, whether it's toys or activities and stuff. Good question. I guess maybe hopefully I'll get back to you on that one and see. Outdoor is something that's popular that I didn't see in Canada before we came, but it's been a few years since I've been in Canada for a long period of time, is razor blade boards, and you have a foot here, and they have one wheel on the front, one wheel in the back, and you rock it like this and you go forward. That's a pretty big thing. Scooters, I see kids with scooters, and unicycles. It's not massive, but unicycles is a popular like sporting thing. So you don't really see that in Canada. It's a very, very rare thing to see. But even in like schools and stuff, some schools will have like unicycles for kids to practice on. So I thought that's pretty cool. In terms of like, I don't know, toys or games, like DS is a big thing. Like all the kids have DS, Nintendo DS. That's definitely a thing. Yokai Watch for little kids. Yeah, I'll ask the kids and see what else. Is chocolate popular in Japan? Yeah, I think so. People love chocolate over here. And there's both Japanese chocolate and foreign brands of chocolate. From Oklahoma, cool. I think I'll be on this live stream, by the way, for maybe another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna log off and get started with the day, checking on the wife who has flu. See how she's doing. What are my thoughts on more older people dying faster than babies being born? I mean, that's actually an issue all over. I think Germany, actually, it's a little bit worse in Germany than it is in Japan in terms of the low birth rate. But it's a very developed country or G7 or G20 type of issue out there. At first, I was a little concerned about it because you're always told like it's a bad thing all the time. But I don't know. I think it's a very unprecedented time that we're in terms of the technology with AI and robots. And another worry, because I follow like, automation and futurology and stuff like that. And is that'll change the world in terms of when you have robots doing a lot of things, and so people will be out of jobs. Well, we're worried about having enough people to do jobs. That's a big concern with the population. Well, maybe the robots will take care of things, and even things like, who will take care of the elderly. Well, maybe the robots can take care a lot more of the menial type of tasks, right? Like are tasks that, I mean, like even having to lift somebody from a bed, well, maybe there's a robot that can do that, and the very physically demanding type of thing. And I know that there's actually like robots in Japan. Like there's even like pets and stuff, or like stuffed animals that you can carry, like a seal that'll like kind of talk back to you, or even make sounds to you. And actually, it's effective in at least helping the mentally helping with older people. So not to say like robots do everything in terms of elder care or something like that, but it could help lift or do a lot of things for people so that you can leave humans for the more interactive parts of the job, just for the mental well-being part of the jobs. And when people don't have jobs to do, well, maybe people will have more time to spend with childcare things or with elder care and for stuff. But I think definitely the government has to be involved to kind of spread the wealth of productivity that happens with robots and artificial intelligence. And so being in Japan and being a collectivist society, and people generally follow the rules more than, say, like Canada or the United States. I'm really interested, and Japan also being, I think, fairly okay with robots doing things and being interested in robotics. I'm very interested to see what happens in the next years or so, and seeing what happens with society. Like, I think that's a huge topic and something I'm greatly interested in, and we'll see what happens in the future. Are there any questions I wanted to answer? I don't think so, because no, there's enough questions here, so I'm good for questions. How's homosexuality viewed in Japan? There was a pretty insightful documentary that I saw on Vice that had Ellen Page. It used to be free. I think you might have to pay to get it now or something, but it was called Gaycation, and they did an episode in Japan. And I don't know much about the scene, so I can't speak too much to it. But from my perspective, I thought they did a really good job of it, and I understood a lot more. And I guess a lot of things I see online, they seem to want to dramatize things so much that I like the approach that Ellen took. And maybe because she's Canadian, so she kind of has a more like subdued approach to things as well. But she seemed to take a very humane and sensationalized view to the topic. So I really liked the way she took it. She did it. So if I would suggest, if you want to know about LGBTQ plus scene in Japan, try to look up Gaycation, because it'll do a way better job than I ever would trying to tackle the subject. So I don't think I will tackle that subject anytime soon, because I saw that, and I don't think I have much. I can't add anything to that conversation at this point in time. Full back tattoo, eh? Yeah. So just look it up, and I think you'll be fine. If you're in a capsule hotel, the showers, they usually have stalls that are individual. So I don't think you'll get into any problem at all with a capsule hotel. Now, some of them do have like a bathing part, which you could get into trouble with. Although it's not a proper, it's not like an onsen where there's tons of people. So capsule hotel, I think you'll probably be fine to join the communal part of it. But for the actual shower part, no problem, because it's covered. Good morning, Met Apple. Met Apple. I don't even know what name that is. What kind of things or TV shows are the kids into? Unfortunately, from my perspective, they're into they like watching some of those variety TV shows. They annoy me to no ends, the vast majority of them, but they think those are funny. If you guys have seen variety TV shows, I just can't stand most of them. I do actually want to make a video about them, though, and talk about them. But yeah, I generally, most Japanese TV show I do not tune into. I think NHK is probably the only TV that I watch, because they're a little less sensationalist. But I do, if there are some decent documentaries in Japan, I do like watching those. Someone from Turkey, cool. Hey, Western beds or futons? Futon, because There's different styles of futon. There's not just like big cotton-filled ones. There's different styles, and we'll probably do a video about it. But the thing I like about it is that you can kind of reconfigure your room and move beds quite easily. So I like that, especially if you have visitors, or for me, I work from home, so I can roll up my bed and get some more space in my room. So futon is the way to go for me. Where would you like to travel outside of Japan? I want to go to the continent of Africa. That's probably my #1 travel destination, although my wife does not want me to go to Africa, so might not get there. But after doing these videos and after talking to people around the world, I've kind of caught this travel bug where I do want to go and travel around. That kind of, when I was younger, like in my late teens, early 20s, I really wanted to travel. And then once I got married, had kids, it kind of just went away. I was just worried about, putting a roof over the heads type of thing. But now I'm really interested in traveling and seeing how different people live. And yeah, I'd love to travel. So hopefully in the future I'll get the chance to, but we'll see. We'll see. Are Japanese public toilets clean enough? Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, you'll find some toilets that aren't as clean, but in general, the toilets are fairly clean. I have no complaints about them. And talking to people with disabilities, where it's a bigger concern to them, they have said, and people who traveled around the world, they really love the Japanese toilets. So I'll have to take it from them. Your son is not allowed to watch Yokai Watch. Oh no, how come? What are the thoughts on Japanese Prime Minister? Honestly, I don't have many thoughts on the politics in Japan. Like, I mean, I have thoughts of politics in Canada and America. The thing about, so the one thing about Japanese politics is that I know in the past there's been a lot of different prime ministers cycled in and out for years, and it kind of felt very unstable. So now that they have Abe in, to have them stable, I think that's at least, I like that stability. And I know there's lots of people don't like him, for different reasons. But some of the programs he have in place, it seems like he's trying to do things, like he's trying to have more gender equality in the workplace and in general, and be more green and all the stuff. And whether or not he's authentic about that, or he's just doing it to sound good, I don't know enough to know that. But I think for right now, he brings about some stability, and so yeah, it seems okay to me, but I don't know too much, honestly. Let's see here. What are some technological advances in Japan that surprised you when you got there, or even now? I think remote controls are the biggest one. Remote controls are just a huge thing over here. I'm just looking like on the wall there. Well, that's the remote control for the air conditioner, and this is for my lights. So I can actually play with my lights right now, and my camera will adjust for the lighting. But yeah, remote controls are a huge thing over here, but I think Japan's not as technologically advanced as people think. Like 20 or 30 years ago, it might have been advanced in comparison to the West, but especially I think with once smartphones hit, and that was like 10 years ago, it really changed it, where the phones were no longer, Japanese phones were no longer like king and no longer the best in the world. And the apps you can do, things you can do with smartphones and Wi-Fi, the Internet of Things, I think it's really changing. So I think in certain areas, the West has leapfrogged Japan in technology. One thing I will say, though, is cars. For the nicer cars in Japan, the stuff, like I saw some of their minivans, the tech they have in there, it's higher than the tech they have. Even in the same brands, like a Toyota Sienna in Canada is not as nice as the Toyota Sienna in Japan. Like I went to the Tokyo showroom. Toyota has a huge showroom in Tokyo, and yeah, there's some pretty cool tech. So, but they're really expensive too. I've never actually ridden in one properly, but I've sat in one, and they're pretty nice. Let's see here. I'm gonna have to wrap up in just a minute. You're a producer of Yokai Watch related videos. Oh, okay. JAR Productions. Let's see here. I'm just trying to read through all the questions here. Sorry. Horikita Maki retiring from entertainment industry. I don't even know who that person is, so no opinion. Oh, North Africa. Cool. Yeah. I've been looking, I was actually kind of looking to visit sub-Saharan Africa. That's kind of the first place I wanted to visit. Like I was looking up Botswana because that I was trying to find the safest place in Africa for my, and when I was trying to look around, that was apparently a pretty safe one for tourists to go to. So I was trying to figure out a place that most likely my wife would say yes to. So I think Botswana was the place I was looking at. Do I feel awkward filming my documentaries? Well, generally I'm filming other people, so I don't feel awkward. When I have to turn the camera on myself, then yes, I do feel quite awkward at times. When I have a subject to talk about, I'm fine. When I have to try to talk about myself or my opinions about it, it's a little weirder. Like I was filming a random walk around Tokyo, and that one was kind of weird for me because I turned the camera on myself a couple times, and I had difficulty talking because I don't do that style very often. And I'm trying to just change things up, do different things. So anytime the focus is on myself, I find it odd. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Do people ever notice me in public? Almost never. I've been recognized, or the kids, actually, it's usually kids are recognized, not me. Maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times or so. You count it on a hand. So no, we're not. We are not recognized, and I hope that stays that way. Yeah. Okay, I have to go now. It's been about an hour and a half doing this live stream, but thank you for everyone for joining in. Thank you to all those people on Patreon who supported this live stream. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. It's always cool to talk with people around the world. I enjoy doing these live streams and getting lots of all the different questions. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.